it's Leo, and it's time to talk about episode 7 from Fairy Ranmaru. What just happened? I don't even know what to say. I'm shocked. My jaw dropped at the end of this episode. But girl, there are lots of things to unpack. This was another episode focused on Homura, the Ignis clan fairy, and prior to episode 6, I was wondering how the series was gonna go from now on after episode 5, since we had one episode for each of the 5 characters, and they fought by themselves, they transformed by themselves, they never fought together. And I thought that this dynamic was gonna change after episode 5. We were gonna see them fighting as a team in episode 6 and everything else. Well, it didn't happen. We are still getting solo fights and solo transformations, solo episodes and everything else. And usually I would complain about that because I really wanted to see them fighting together. But I think that Fairy Ranmaru is in its best moment, its best episodes. So I'm definitely not complaining because I am really loving this show. I was not expecting to like it this much after watching the first episode, for example. But girl, I'm sold. I always say this, but I'm gonna say this again. I'm sold. So this episode featured the same victim as the second episode, so it obviously had lots of references. After episode 2, that mangaka created a manga based on Homura's fairy look, so we saw that. It was also a big reference to Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. We had Nezuko there too. It was very interesting. I really liked seeing that character once more. She was a very cute character in episode 2, so I was happy that she got back. But obviously, having Homura being in a preeminent role in a manga like that made Uru very angry, because this is one of the rules of the fairies, right? One of the laws of the fairies. You can't let your identity be discovered by other people. But it's funny that Uru always throws shade to Homura because Homura is from the Ignis clan, and we know that there's this big rivalry. And it's funny that Uru is the one that's throwing shade at Homura because, girl, you were the one who broke the law in your episode. You were even punished by it. Wake up, Uru. But nonetheless, it creates that big tension between them that always happens, and Homura gets very angry. He's very hot-headed. There's a lot of passion in him. Obviously, he's the fire character. So he leaves, and then he meets the girl he saved in episode 2 again. Interesting, we knew that in last episode, I think, that the girls that are saved, they forget what happened, so they don't remember the fairies. So she didn't remember him, but she wanted to create a human form for the fairy she created in her manga. So she got him again, and it was very cute seeing Homura's reaction to her. You know, like the way he dealt with her wish, and he was like, no. He didn't want to be her inspiration, but you know, she asked in such a kind way and he ended up accepting it. Homura, I love Homura. I think he's my favorite now. You know, my heart is Homura's. I loved him so much in this episode. So he ended up accepting and he went on to model for her. Obviously, it is a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that she created the fairy from her manga based on his fairy look. And now she is creating the human form of the fairy of the manga in the human form of the fairy that she saw in real life. But she doesn't remember that, she doesn't know that, but we know it's not a coincidence. Apart from that, we have something interesting happening with Takara, which is the Metallum clan fairy, which met someone else. And this someone, we didn't see this man's face, but we saw his jewelry, and he felt like a very rich man. And this is something big about the Metallum clan. It's all about money. It's all about richness. So it was clear that that person he was talking to was a prior fairy. We learned in the first episode that fairies who break the law get turned into humans, so that's probably what happened with that specific fairy. He was a fairy from the Metallum clan. We don't know who, if he was an important fairy from the Metallum clan or another one, just another one, but Takara is in contact with him, and they were talking about Sirius, who is the villain, which is probably not the real villain of the series, but we know that Sirius is doing something big behind the scenes, and they're talking about him. So it's interesting. They know Sirius is acting. When are we going to know more about Sirius? I am so curious. So we see a flashback. We see some flashbacks of the Ignis clan in this episode, which were interesting and they tied to this episode idea, which was, we saw Homura's father talking to him, talking about how he should always help other people. They are the clan of justice, so they are very strong, so they fight to defend justice. But not only that, every time you see someone suffering, every time you see someone crying, every time you see someone going through a hard thing, you should always help them. That is the law of the Ignis clan, so that is why Homura is always eager to help people, even if he doesn't really feel like it. He's always eager to do so, and that's what he did in this episode. But in this episode, there were other things going on behind it, because there was this love blooming between him and that human girl he saved. Like, there were feelings there. And because of this, Uru was after him. Uru was paying attention to everything he was doing, and the queen also knew about what was happening with Homura. Interesting thing about the queen, she is always giving out important information in her speeches in every episode. This time she talked about the fairies' relationships, and she is the one who chooses who the fairies are going to have relationships with. So if you are a fairy, you're going to marry the one that the queen wants you to marry. So you cannot marry whoever you choose. This makes sense with what we saw previously about the Ignis clan. We know that Homura's father, the head of the Ignis clan, created some problems for the Ignis clan. He was punished. He seemed to be banished from the Ignis clan because he was having relationships with the head of the Aqua clan, or the wife of the head of the Aqua clan. So we know that, we saw that a little bit in episode 2, and then we saw a little bit more of that in episode 3. So we know that there was this problem. So this prohibition of the queen, the fact that she mentions it in this episode makes a lot of sense with what happened previously with the Ignis clan. So we also saw that big conversation between Uru and Homura. They had this clash. Obviously, Homura couldn't really do anything for the mangaka that was going through a hard time, a public meltdown of her career, and he was trying to save her, but he couldn't, and she didn't really want him to help her. And Homura was feeling sad because of it, and Uru was playing him because he was feeling sad, and he was also touching on the topic that he is a fairy. He can't have relationships with a human. But then we had another flashback of the Ignis clan, and in it we saw Homura's father suffering a lot. And, well, we know that he got punished because of what happened between him and the Aqua fairy. But in this episode, it seemed that there was something that he could have done to ease his punishment if he said something. We don't know what it is. We don't know exactly how this could have been lighter on him, but we know that he could have said something, but he didn't do it because that person who he was doing something with was going to suffer if he did it. That person was going to cry. The burden was going to be heavier on the other person. So he didn't do it. And so this makes a very clear, this puts on a very clear message. I'm going to sacrifice myself for the sake of others. And that is what I'm going to do. And that was exactly what the mangaka was doing in this episode. She was sacrificing her own career to not hurt other people, other artists, and most specifically her assistant. She knew that her assistant was playing her, but she was doing nothing to fight back because that could have been sacrificial to her assistant. And Homura saw and understood that what she was doing was the same that his father did, and his father suffered a lot because of it. He didn't want the same thing to happen with her, so he went on to help her. And he, oh my god, that scene of him banging in the door, it was so pretty. Oh my god, Homura, that was so cute of you to do that. I am shipping those two so hard right now. I really love them together. They are super special together. And girl, he helped her in a super emotional moment. He hugged her. She opened the door and he just picked her arm like that. Oh my god, it was amazing. And he transformed. He became the Ignis Fairy and he started fighting against the problem that was created, obviously, by Sirius once more. And it's interesting that in Homura's song, he talks about sacrificing himself. Like when you have a woman that's crying, that's when a man should stand up and fight for her, even if it means sacrificing your own life. So it has a lot to do with the Ignis clan law and what he did in this episode as well. So we had the fighting scene, which was very artistic once more and very pretty. I really loved it. So we had fake monsters and fake attacks on those monsters. And when those fake attacks were happening, we had lots of people watching. So it was like a spectacle. That was what the villain was creating, which was that mangaka that created all the fake scenario to blame everything on the mangaka that was being saved in this episode. And well, this was the big motto of the fighting, creating spectacles and fake tragedies as entertainment. Sirius was watching everything in the shadows again, and he was paying attention to what was going on. And Sirius started playing Homura with the fact that he was having a relationship with a human, not playing him, he was just watching and paying attention. Because in this episode, we had a bigger involvement between the fairy and the human. We even had a scene with both of them naked and, you know, kind of like actually understanding each other and coming even closer emotionally wise. And so, well, this created even a bigger bond between them, and that made Homura even stronger to fight, and he was able to, you know, swipe off the enemy of the episode. Girl, it was super gorgeous. And the fairies were watching him, except for Uru. Uru was not watching him fight with the other three, which I thought, okay, maybe he doesn't want to see him fighting because of everything that happened between them in this episode. But there was a bigger motive. He was probably watching in a different place because he probably didn't want to be seen. I don't know. But what happened right after he got the attachment? Girl, I was like, what is going on? Sirius stabbed him with his sword. He broke his jewel. I was so shocked when I saw that I was confused, and for 1 second I thought it was Uru. When it wasn't Uru and I saw it was Sirius, I was like, girl, okay. Girl, fine. Oh my god, I was so shocked. But I was so shocked because, you know, we saw that his fire wings disappeared and the details in his costume disappeared too. What is happening with Homura? Homura, what is going on with you? Girl, I just couldn't deal with it. And then we saw Ranmaru coming in, and Ranmaru tried to fight against Sirius. And then we had another big revelation. It talks about how Ranmaru is now living a special life on Earth as a human student, and he found it very funny, and he called him Betelgeuse once more. So Ranmaru is Betelgeuse in some sort of way, and Sirius is probably the original fairy who betrayed the queen and started the doomfall of the fairy realm. What is going on here? What is happening? And he attacked Homura because Homura was having a relationship with a human and they couldn't do it. But I don't know if he was actually doing it for Homura himself, like he was actually hurting Homura because of it. I don't know. It felt like he was just playing around with Homura. I'm not sure. But then, girl, Homura fell into the sea, and then everything shocked me even more when Uru jumped in to save him and kissed him. What is happening here? What is happening? Like, okay, that wasn't really a kiss, probably. It was just like a mouth-to-mouth breathing, maybe. But I'm still gonna see it as a kiss. Girl, I don't know what to say. I just know that I'm very curious for the next episode. How is Uru going to deal with the fact that he saved Homura? How is Homura going to deal with the fact that he was saved by Uru? What is happening? I'm so shocked and I cannot wait for next week. Fairy Ranmaru just gets better and better and better. I have nothing more to say. Please leave a comment with your opinions. Let's keep talking in the comment box below. Fairy Ranmaru is being great. And I want to take this little time to thank the members of the Magical Cinema channel. If you are a member, I really appreciate it and I'm very thankful. Thank you so much. And if you've watched up until now, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I hope we have more Fairy Ranmarus with more kisses like that. Bye bye.